Hi. If you are watching this, you most likely want to know about Elsewhere, which is slightly near Jonas' hometown, where the Giver is, but it's also different in a lot of different ways. So, our many laws here are just don't steal, because stealing is wrong, because the person either got that item by buying it or just found it's precious to them. Don't run off, because running off is something that the parents mostly don't want you to do because they want to raise you to be a good person. And the third and the biggest rule is just don't lie. Lying is just extremely hateful. It's a very high disgrace in our community. We don't like people who lie because they could be hiding something that we need to know that could have everybody's personal safety at risk. Okay, so the laws are made by the mayor of the town, which is usually over 70 years old, because we believe that elders have the most experience with life and can make the best decisions. So our rules are enforced by the mayor because he watches, and the punishments, they're not that big. We have this little thing kind of about that, like that. It's just rubber, and we use it as a whip. And if you break a small rule, like maybe steal a small item from somebody, we will lash you 3 times with that. The reason we're kind of so strict is because we don't want people to constantly be doing this. We want them to know they shouldn't be able to do it again. And then if you lie, just one little lie, you will have 5 whips, no food for 5 days, and you must do hard labor for a very long time. Now, we are a democracy because the mayor, he gets elected every 10 years, and 10 years is just because unless we don't have a good mayor, we're going to elect him every 10 years because we will get used to the ideas of the one that we have, and then as soon as he gets old and decrepit and useless, then we're not gonna want him to be our mayor anymore, so we need to elect somebody else, right? It just makes sense. So, okay. Our schools here, well, they're pretty much the same as they were many years before our time. And it was the best way to educate students, in our opinion, because we don't want to teach extra things other than the classics that students would normally have to learn. So we just think of it as a necessity to learn the things that we used to learn, all of us used to learn. So we do not separate races or genders, and everybody can go to school because, everybody needs to have the same amount of knowledge, unless you don't try in school, which you'll have to redo the grade or something. But students are taught standard curriculum for their age. So in kindergarten they'll be learning addition and barely getting into history, and in 5th grade they'll be starting fractions and other things that would require a higher skill. Okay. School is mandatory for students up until high school or 9th grade, and if they choose to stay in school, they can choose a career path of one of the many careers that we offer. Families in our community are very standard: mother, father, But what's different from ours and Jonas's hometown are 3 kids are allowed only, but they can be any gender. Boy, 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 girl, 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 boy, girl, boy. Okay. We don't really think a boy and a girl is just, we don't want to control our population as much as they do, because we want to become a bigger community. Our families are neither patriarchal or matriarchal, because if one could dominate the other, we would have different decisions, right? Like, the mom normally is staying at home, but if the father has to work, the mom would have to do everything since she was in charge there. And we think that's kind of unfair, so we can leave it to a choice to either the father to stay home or the mother to stay home, or both work if you're desperate. Okay. So the parents, they get the children because they can have them on their own, but as soon as they have a child, they need to go to the Natural Development Center, which is where the children are taught the basics of life for the first 3 years of their life. So we'll teach them how to walk, we'll just gain up their strength so they can do some of the tasks that we offer them to do for extra credit in life, or brownie points. And we just don't think that some parents raise them right. So we would like to raise them how we think would be the proper way. So, in Elsewhere, or here, everybody lives in tents, which are neatly lined up in tents of 20 on each side, and they can have different shapes. It's just a line of 20 tents, each neighborhood, and we think that tents are best because they cause the least amount of pollution, but at the same time they're providing shelter above your head, and they could protect you against weather. Okay, so next. Okay, so about our jobs. A developer. It helps the young children learn the basics of life, like I said earlier, just gain their muscle strength, raise them properly, and helps them get prepared for later on in life. So we could say anything above kindergarten is what we would be preparing them for. So the butcher. The butcher cooks and grinds the food that the citizens bring to them, because the citizens, they might not know what proper meat is, and we just don't think that humans should know exactly everything about food, because they could have some different ideas that might hurt people in a way that make their stomach upset. So we need to know everything about everybody. Okay, the dog breeder is it breeds the dogs in the community, and the dogs are specially bred for hunting, which is how the butcher gets the food to cook from the citizens, using the dogs to give them meat. So a craftsman. The craftsman's job is to make all the tools used in the city, and to build the tents, to design the tents, to make them strong enough to resist a hurricane, but also light enough to carry around with you. And some of the hunting tools that we use are bows, knives, and axes, which we use to get our wood, which we use to make the nails that go for the tents. So now, it's the one that is very interesting. The Overlord is only chosen when the previous one reaches age 70, if they are successful enough to reach that age with the job. So the job of the Overlord is not to be seen, but to see everybody, making sure that nobody learns the secrets or the truth about how our city was originally created, or why it was created, or why everybody can see white and black only. So, how would the citizens get food? So, each family unit, after they have the 3 kids, before then we provide them with our food. With meat, fresh veggies. But we have farms, which is how we get the fruits and vegetables. Now the family units, they use specially bred dogs. An example of one would be Mr. Angus right here. He's a Hound doggy. He's meant for hunting. And the citizens, or the family units, hunt with the dogs to get meat, such as a wild boar, for instance. They use the knives and the bows to kill it and get the meat. Or a chicken, a wild chicken, you could find one of those. And they do the same thing, and they use the dogs to hunt them down. And that's why hound dogs are one of the most commonly used dogs in the city, because they have a nose which they can use to really track things down very easily. But after they catch the meat, they bring it to the butcher, who cooks it, grinds it, and makes it into something edible for the family units to eat at their dinner table. And so the necessities that the families would have, the government will give each family the things they would need up until they are moved to the center, which we take care of the elder. Kind of like Jonas's hometown, or the other city near us. But just, it's kind of the same thing, but you don't really have a job there. They have all the necessities they would need, but they take care of themselves. Because natural selection is a big thing in our city. So, entertainment in our city is, well, the family units entertain themselves by playing board games, such as Apples to Apples, Name 5, Monopoly. That's a very common one, because you can have a lot of players. But the whole family unit gathers there any time of their free time that they want to, and they just play a game, and that's all they can have for entertainment, because we don't have much electricity here. And if you're wondering how the butcher cooks, he cooks it over a fire, which is one of the reasons we don't have electricity. Because if he doesn't have a fire, how can we cook it? So that is all about Elsewhere, and why I believe you should join our lovely community. And we also have some extra things not mentioned in this commercial. But in this commercial, then again, we are just going over the basics. So if you're curious what else is here, then just come on over and join us. But once you join, you cannot leave. And don't forget, we do have the cute dogs here. The ones that will love you till the end and hunt you down food. And they're good doggies. So that's just the end. I hope to see you here sometime soon.